You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma Podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901. They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. So yeah, go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. It's going to be a very exciting episode. I'm pumped for this one because you'll know with all the stuff that's going on in Oklahoma City with the Thunder just on an absolute tear at the moment, but also the arena and then the news and all the cool stuff. But the man that runs that building is with me today. Please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Chris Semrau, who is the GM of the Paycom Arena.
Great to be here.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for coming down. We share a love of royal blood together. What a great show that was at Cain's, right?
We did cross paths my first time at Cain's, and
was it really?
It's great to see talented artists in smaller venues and exceptional energy they put out, and a band I came across several years ago that I still follow, and when they come to the state, you got to make the effort to support them.
Yeah, I was. That was the first time I'd seen them live, and I'd listened to their music for a while. Obviously, I'm from the UK, so I kind of heard them when they were coming up in the UK, and I missed them the first time they came to Cain's, and I saw this. They were like, we're going, and it seemed like they were at home, that show, right? Like very rarely do you see someone play live and you're like, this is exactly what they sound like on the record. And they were loving life out there. Every song feels like a ballad that you're going to sing along to, the riff, whatever it is, the drummer he was going at it. And Cain's too. Cain's is obviously 100 years, I think, this year of Cain's Ballroom, which for you, someone who's in the industry, like, it's special to go to a location like that and have that history, the nostalgia, the feel of like, it's not a big room, and I love seeing people at Cain's.
Now, it was special. I try to go out and support, live music wherever I can, and it's something that is truly, like, I'm a fan. Like, I do it for my profession, but I'm a true fan of great live entertainers and musicians, and so whenever I gotta get a chance to get a night off to go somewhere else, I try to take advantage of that. And I've got a running list of kind of shows that are coming through the region, and if I can match those up on an open night, I try to take advantage of that, and I enjoy it the same I did 20 years ago. So
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about kind of you and your backstory and kind of how where you grew up and how you get into kind of where you're at now. you're like me. You're not from here. Like I said, I think you said before we started recording, you've been here 5 years. So I got a little bit of time on you, but it's fun being an outsider in Oklahoma City, because it doesn't take you very long to feel like you belong here, and people do a very good job of that, and that's why I love this place. But tell me about you. Where'd you grow up, and what were you like as a kid?
Yeah, definitely a welcoming community. 5 years in, I've loved our experience in Oklahoma City so far. I was born in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but raised in North Dakota.
Okay.
High school, college, and so I definitely feel I'm a Midwest person, and I would spend a lot of time in Minnesota at the lake in the summertime. So transitioning to Oklahoma City felt very similar. I always say it's just like Sioux Falls, except for there's one skyscraper downtown. The people are welcoming and warm and kind, and we sure appreciate this middle America, kind of Great Plains culture and character, and we think Oklahoma City is a very special place. Obviously a little cold up in North Dakota in that area too, right? I got friends from up there, and they like being down here in the summer. I know that. Music really kind of a huge part of your life and entertainment early on, or not? Always has been. Okay. I remember back in kind of late elementary school years, I don't know if it was an art class or something like that. A teacher I remember once told me, like, hey, like, you got to draw something besides like stage and lights, and like, is there a straw tree or something? And I would enjoy getting a map out and kind of plotting if I was on tour, what were my 30 cities I want to go visit and what order. And so at an early age, I was always really interested in live entertainment and touring, and I'll never forget the first shows I went to and how it really captured me. So it's always been something, like I said at the beginning of our discussion, like I'm a fan first, and really have a passion for the live event experience.
Yeah, and I assume this, but staying a fan only helps you in the business, right? Because once you get bogged down in logistics and numbers and all the stuff that goes on with, touring, a band that touring, there's so much stuff that goes on behind like the actual production and the show. But you never want to lose that fan, that kid mentality of like, no, we're here to have fun. We're here to put on a show. And, when you're running the arena, you have to put yourself in the fan's shoes, right? Not in the shoes of, I have a spreadsheet and we've got to do this, this, and this, because it takes the fun out of it straight away, I'm sure.
I think if you don't have that authentic passion for it, like it can wear on you really quickly. It's a hard industry with lots of hours, and it's not a family first job. Like your schedule revolves around your venue calendar, and you try to be respectful and balance it out as best you can, which is imperfect. But if you're not there for the right reasons and the right why, I think it's probably a descending career path that you don't enjoy. I still wake up every day and I'm excited to drive downtown Oklahoma City to think about what the next challenge is. And we get to start with what if and what about and could we ever every day. I would be a terrible rinse and repeat employee if I had the same job every day. And I feel very privileged to come in to the office to have a job that literally every day is different. And if I ever lose the goosebump feeling when the lights go out at a show, I need to move professions.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that way about golf. So I have everything in my life I can tie back to golf, basically, and that's the way I feel about it too. I still get giddy when I drive to the golf course. I'm just like, I remind myself as being an 8-year-old thinking I get to go hit balls today. So yeah, never losing that mentality is a huge goal of mine, and obviously it is for you too. Let's go back. What was that kind of first music moment that was just like, yeah, this is a band that I love? Or were you driving in the car with mom and dad, listening to it, right? What is that kind of pinpoint moment for you for music?
I think it was back at second, third grade, listening to our FM radio and hearing some of the rock acts that were out that I really were fond of, and then all of a sudden I got my first cassettes, and then you get your double cassette player, and in junior high had CDs, and I've always just spent my extra time listening to music. And even now at work, most of the time I have music playing in the background, and very eclectic, very different every day. I think people are very confused, wait, you were listening to this yesterday, now this on the spectrum today. But I appreciate great artists in all genres. And so I really try to branch out and expose myself to lots of different musical tastes. And so music has always been very important to me. That coupled with being a sports enthusiast, I think really has led to a great match in this industry.
Yeah. Do you play any instruments growing up?
I was a percussionist. Yeah,
Okay.
so played the drum set, and it's something I've missed doing actively over the years, and I really hope to get back into it more actively. But I'm always tapping the table with my leg and annoying my kids, and I still love it, and that's one of my fond memories growing up.
Right, yeah. Are they in music as well? Have you kind of pushed that, not pushed, but like strongly encouraged them to get into music?
Yeah, it's funny. My son started playing percussion a year or so ago, and it's been kind of fun for me to watch him kind of develop the same side of enjoyment to it as I had.
Yeah. So you said earlier, as a kid, you were always kind of drawing, like stage lights and bands and kind of, thinking about the top 30 cities you'd go to. Did you think at a young age, and you just mentioned too, you have a huge love of sports, did you think at a young age that you would go down the, route of like, I'm not going to be an artist, but I am going to be involved in a band, touring, logistics at some point? Like, was that a moment of realization?
I always hoped there was something in that space.
Yeah.
Didn't know what it was. I mean, at first you always think you're going to be in a band, right? That probably was a diminished, vision very early. So I didn't really know what the path would be like. And so kind of backed into the arena side of the industry, but without the intention that was the career path I would choose, and 2 decades later I'm still doing that. But always want to do something in the sports or entertainment space.
Okay, what did you go to school for?
Marketing.
Same. Yeah, and I did because I didn't know what else I wanted to do. Just kind of like seems like an easy thing to do, and feel like I'm good at it.
Yeah, and you are, and it shows. And I think marketing for me was a good match because it was general enough where I got to touch a lot of different spaces in business without being really pigeonholed into one. And I think that's paid off long term because I do enjoy more than just marketing, and I enjoy the business approach to what we do with the venue industry and sports entertainment. And I think marketing was a great path to go down.
Yeah. Where'd you go to school?
University of North Dakota.
Okay.
Grand Forks, up near Canada. And great school, great city, and enjoyed my time up there very much.
Yeah. So you're going through university, you got kind of like the, people coming to you, hey, like, what do you do after this? Junior, senior year, you're trying to figure out. Do you have any kind of really cool internships that time that would just kind of set your fire alight and kind of set some things in motion or not?
Yeah, the most valuable experience I had coming out of university is I served as student body president. And so that really exposed me to some, great alumni doing different things across the country, and try to kind of narrow my focus down to what I wanted to do. And I think I sent a flyer out for a few jobs I interviewed for and never got. So coming into my senior year, I still had no idea what that next chapter would look like. So it wasn't a clear destination at all.
Yeah. And at this point, is mom and dad well, I mean, you got to figure your life out. You got to get the typical kind of parent mentality. You got to get a job. You got to start somewhere and start a career. Like, what was that scene like at the time too?
I was very lucky to have very supportive parents that didn't push or panic. I think they knew I would find my path eventually, and I was very lucky to have their support throughout that process.
Okay. So where do we go from there then? You graduate and you think, I got the world is at my feet now. I can do whatever I want to do. Well,
I had a semester left of school, and that's really where I think my kind of journey began into this industry. And like many other great journeys, it started on spring break in Las Vegas.
Of course.
And many things aren't how you plan them to be, but in Grand Forks, there was an alumni who was a very successful casino operator in Las Vegas named Ralph Engelstad. And the city of Grand Forks suffered a devastating flood in 1997. And Mr. Engelstad said he wanted to do something for the community that would provide dividends for generations. And so he said he's going to build the greatest college hockey facility in the country. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I knew one person who knew Mr. Engelstad. And I said, hey, we're going to Las Vegas, where Mr. Engelstad lives and works. I want to meet him and thank him on behalf of the students for this unprecedented gift he's given to the state. And this contact said, yeah, I'll check with him and I'll let you know. Well, came time for our trip, never heard back from him. went spring break. After a couple days, this one day in particular, doing your typical spring break activities of going to libraries and museums and touring the parks.
Yeah.
Came back one night and that red light was blinking on the phone in the room. And I called the front desk and they said, Mr. Engelstad will meet you tomorrow night at his casino at 11:30. You have 10 minutes and come by yourself. So I looked at my guys. I said, hey, which one of you did this? And they said, no, we didn't do it. It must be real.
Yeah.
I said, well, I never told them where we were even staying at. So the next day I went went there that night. Mr. Engelstad was at the back bar. I sat down and mentioned to somebody that was there to see him. I was escorted in this back room and interviewed by these two large individuals about why I was there and what I wanted. I said, I just wanted to say thank you for this great gift. Came out, spent a few minutes with Mr. Engelstad, and they said I had 10 minutes. And after about 15, 20 minutes, I offered to excuse myself, and he offered to stick around longer and have a conversation. We had the greatest discussion. But at that time, I said, I just want to help you fulfill this vision. What can I do as I'm finishing school? I'll be an intern. I'll make copies. He said, well, look, we're not there yet. We just made the announcement, but I'll let you know. He asked when I was going back after spring break. I said, well, actually, we're going to Minneapolis on Friday for a college hockey tournament. He said, well, so am I. Why don't you fly back with me on my plane? So he wrote down the address of his airplane hangar, and he said, if you want to come here Friday morning at 10 o'clock, you can come with me. I showed up, and he was there, and we flew back, and again, I asked him if there's anything I could do, and he said, well, there's not, but I'll let you know. And but weeks later, I received a phone call, and I took a part-time job, and we started a company, and we helped design, build, open, and operate one of the greatest facilities in the country. And so I realized how fortunate I am that I didn't go through the human resource door. And that was really my start in the industry, and I was able to do it in my backyard. I did not have to move to a major market or somewhere far away. We did it right there, and we lived there for many years, and that was a very valuable first kind of chapter of my career.
Wow. There's so much to unpack on that. Like, absolutely. I love that. Okay, so what were you thinking was going to happen with that 10 minutes? Like, what was like dream scenario? Because it seems like you hit the jackpot with that scenario.
Yeah, my hope and my dream was to come away with a contact that he would want me to be a part of his organization and team, and here we go, and now I have a job. And I left not defeated, but I left knowing there wasn't really an option and they weren't there yet. But fortunately, it came around weeks later that there was an opportunity, and hopefully I made a good enough impression to him that they reached out and offered that to me. So,
what do you think he saw in you in those 10 minutes that obviously went longer and you had a connection?
Yeah, great question. I don't know. I think hopefully he appreciated that I didn't ask him for anything. I think when you're an individual of success and wealth, I think people are always looking for something to benefit themselves. And I wasn't. I was there to express appreciation from the students and offer to help fulfill his vision moving forward. So hopefully he knew that was authentic and real, which it was, and afforded me at least an initial opportunity to show that as he put together his company.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, like, people listening to this might be parents, they may have a son or a daughter that, you know, they would hope would take that opportunity as well, right? And just by reaching out to someone who, you know, there was a huge chance that you'd never get to sit down with this guy and possibly never see him ever again or at all. And, you know, obviously there's a part of you that wanted to do that, and there's a chance and there's a hope there. And I love that mentality of, okay, let's ask, right? What's the worst can happen, you know? And like I said, you come back and you see that red light blinking and you're like, oh my gosh, you know? And then you go meet him and he says, yeah, jump on my plane tomorrow morning. And just your willingness to be like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, we're going to the same place. Like, a lot of people would have been like, no, man, let me call my parents, I need to figure this out. Like, no, this is huge. You had the awareness at that time to be like, this is a massive opportunity. This guy and people like this guy move in ways like that, right? They just, let's do it, let's get after it. There's no like waiting around, like, this is the vision, I'm going to do this. If you want to come with me, you're welcome to join. And that's a huge invitation. And fortunately, you took that invitation to jump on the plane. And what was that morning like? What was that plane ride like?
It was terrifying because they're intimidating, and to have him kind of fly you around Las Vegas and show you the NASCAR track he built and the hotels he created, and like, you know, somebody who's so successful, but you're reminded that he's an average, great Midwesterner like we were, and we had wonderful conversations that you humanized him very quickly to me, and I learned a lot on that plane ride, as well as years after that from him. But a few moments ago, you mentioned what I often cite as the most powerful word in the world, and that's ask. And I wish I would have understood that power at an earlier age, and I think, I would have swung the bat more. I would have taken more risks more. But asking, I think, is something that people come to that line, but don't step over it.
Yeah.
And I think, I asked the question to get the meeting. I asked him for the opportunity, and most of the time it doesn't happen. But once in a while it does, and I think if people asked more for chances or to be positioned for opportunity, I think they'd be surprised how many times they get it.
Yeah, no, you're right, because we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. You think, I'm gonna fire off this email, and you draft the email, and you never send it, or you see that one person, and very rarely do we get face to face with people, and you never ask, right? And you will never know. Closed mouth never gets fed. It's one of my favorite quotes, and it's so true. Like it's there's so much power in that, right? And like you said, when you go into an ask knowing that the odds are you're not going to get what you want, then it makes it so much easier. It's why some of the best salespeople in the world know that they just have to have 500 no's before they're going to get a yes, right? And
Exactly.
Just keep asking. So what were the great lessons that you took then from the following years of building this vision that you guys worked on together in your backyard?
Well, it was very clear to me how transformational creating a new arena in a community was. I think I underestimated the impact something like that has, not only physically and economically, but to the pride and fabric of a city. And it really showed the power of that. And to try to fulfill his vision and his family's vision became very personal to me. And I think the lesson I learned just directly from him as a very, very successful business person is to make decisions quickly. Like a growth area for me is get the initial information, blink, make a decision, and move on. And don't methodically take everything in and have to get it right. And we would present him with the information we had. Here's the advantages and disadvantages of each path, and he would decide and pull the trigger, and we'd go. And so we got a lot done because of that, and it really changed my cadence of decision making that I still to this day try to improve on and be more like Mr. Ingolstead, because he had so many things come at him so fast that he had to take the snapshot information, make a quick decision, and on to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to touch on this before we dive any further, but you mentioned hockey. So hockey, you said I love our sport. Hockey was your sport then. Is that right? Yeah,
grew up very very passionate about hockey, which is a really big deal in the Upper Midwest. Yeah. And so that was the thing up there. And so it's still something I'm very very fond of.
Put on the skates every now and then?
In a rec league scenario, never competitively, but a lot of friends have played, on our rec teams or professionally, and so hockey's a big part of the fabric of that community, and so it's something that I'm very thankful for, because the hockey was a vehicle to create the arena, which then gave me a chance in the industry.
Yeah, as someone who grew up loving hockey and having that opportunity to do the arena and everything, what was that like? Because for me, the idea of building my own golf course is just like, that would be incredible. But also it's different when you have a hockey arena, because one word you mentioned earlier is the arena is in the community. So tell me a little bit about that. What was it like as a sports fan to build, such a place where you get to host the sport that you love?
It was extra special once we opened, and we actually could bring people in and see the memories that are created. I often say we're in the business of creating moments and memories, and it really became impactful to me right away that first year to see in a community that I knew hockey was significant, but to see truly how special a place like that was for a platform of creating memories from youth hockey all the way up to professional NHL games and all the other events around it. It's a big deal. And I think it hopefully created a lot of memories that people will remember the rest of their life.
Yeah. How long were you there for?
14 years.
Okay. So was that how you transitioned from there down here?
Yeah, I had one stop in between. I was called by the mayor of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, who said, "We want to build a new arena. Would you come to our community?" And I was actually born in Sioux Falls, so I jumped at the chance to go there, be a part of opening another venue and running that for a few years with a great team. It was very successful, learned a lot, and from there, the opportunity came for Oklahoma City.
Okay. What's the main ingredients then to opening an arena?
I was told before we opened the first venue at Ralph Engelstad Arena that it's an amazing life experience that you'll never want to do again. And that couldn't be more true, because there's never enough time, there's never enough fixes, additions, enhancements, things to create to get to that opening day. But once you get there, it's more than special, and it's something that's, if you get to do it once in a career, you're very lucky. And I've had the chance to do it twice so far, and so it's a fantastic feeling. And usually, new venues are very successful in the first few years, and there's a honeymoon kind of bounce. And so we tried to take advantage of that, and you really maximize all the event offerings, like concerts to rodeo to family shows and sports, everything in between. And it was really great to have that challenge and opportunity to bring as much programming as possible to those communities.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting. I think, just the huge variety of events that can just go in. Like I said, it's not just a hockey or a basketball or a football arena. It's, like I said, it's rodeo, it's monster trucks, it's, the guys from has the giant YouTube show that went viral. Those guys were in town. You got the motocross stuff. It's Dude Perfect. That's what I was thinking of. There's so many things that you can throw on, and then you've got like ice skating shows and Disney on Ice and all. I mean, it's the possibilities are endless, right? As long as you build an arena that can take all that. And that's probably the hard part, right? It's like, how do we build a facility that is capable of hosting, some of the best bull and bronc riders in the world, but also has monster trucks, and then maybe 2 days later you got an NBA game and then a concert, having a great sound system. So that's super exciting to be in your industry. And I know that, it fascinates me for sure to be around all those different businesses, people, logistically, and because everyone is at the top of their game. Let's talk about Oklahoma City. How does that come about? Do you get a phone call? Like how does that all connect? And how do you go from Sioux Falls that you're born and raised in to probably a place that you never thought you'd end up in?
I never thought Oklahoma City would be a destination, and when I received that call with the opportunity, I was a pretty hard pass on it right away, and I didn't know anything about the state or the city, and I said thank you, but no thank you. And about a week later, the kind of call came back around again, like, hey, you should think about this. And I said, well, yeah, I'll do my research and I'll come down and see it. And it was very clear to me very quickly, once I came to the community, that there's something very special here. And it's meeting with the Thunder leadership and the city leadership and the talented staff at Paycom Center to see all the great things that are happening here, and knowing that the trajectory is only going up from here. And so I came back with a completely different impression than coming in. And I knew I wanted to be a part of what was going to take place here and help take it from great to exceptional and leave my fingerprints on this trajectory as well. So after coming to the city, we jumped at it.
Yeah.
And we never thought Oklahoma City would be a forever place, but we've chosen to stay here and raise our family here, and it's been wonderful, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah. Where did those kind of the people who were hosting you, like, where did they take you? How did they sell you on Oklahoma City?
We probably didn't do the tour as much as I probably should have taken time for. I was probably more meeting with individuals, but spent most time downtown, and was just really impressed with it, especially after learning what it was maybe 20 years ago, 10 years ago to now, and what the plan and vision was going forward. I think that's what was most kind of attractive to us, to see how far it's come and where it's going to go.
Yeah. Did you have other opportunities at that time?
I'm really fortunate, and there have been, then and now it's great when you get a phone call from something that's something that many years ago you could only have dreamed that would be an opportunity, and now to get those calls, but to graciously say appreciate it, but we have unfinished business in Oklahoma City. That's a good feeling to have, and double down here, and we're excited for what the future holds.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be an exciting future. Obviously, the vote passed. We're going to have a new arena, and which there was no doubt that it was not going to. The city loves NBA basketball, and the team's doing great right now, so that helps too. But it also loves everything else that happens in that arena, and that arena and center has been a huge pinpoint in Oklahoma City, and I think without it, Oklahoma City doesn't really stand for much, and that's the reality. And so I think if that was to go, I mean, why else do people want to come? There's a lot of tourist things people come to Oklahoma City for, but I think it's a sad reality if what you think about what Oklahoma City would have been or could have been without a Thunder team. I don't want to think about that. It's great the way it is, and it's only going to get better. So you make the decision. You come down here, you consult with family and everyone, and think, you know what, we're going to move. We're going to start this new adventure in Oklahoma City. Tell me about that first kind of 6 months.
It was definitely a transition, and we had some big goals ahead of us and things to, improve and elevate at the facility, and I think we accomplished a lot of those objectives in a short amount of time. So we were very thankful, but definitely a transition, and but an exciting one. I think our family up north didn't understand why we would move or come to Oklahoma, but every time someone comes to visit, they always leave saying, we get it. We get why you guys are advocates for the city and passionate about it and want to be here. So when we can expose others to it, they easily come around and see it from our point of view. So thankful for the arena's trajectory and success over the past several years, and really, really excited for what's to come.
So you said you've been here 5 years, so 2018, 2019 was the period you moved down here. With obviously, and I want people to remember, it's the arena that you technically work for, right? It's not the Thunder, because that's their home, but it's Paycom Center that you're the GM of. Is it ASM Global? Is that who you effectively work for?
Correct. I work for a company called ASM Global,
okay,
which is the largest venue operator in the world. Mm-hmm. The city owns Paycom Center and Pracer Studios, and they hire an operator to run those on their behalf. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to make sure clear that up before we go any further, because I don't want people listening to be like, Chris runs the Thunder. They're just based out of the arena.
For sure.
2018, 2019, moving down here, you said you had some things to clean up with the facility. Was it more like soundproofing? Is it more just like as a production facility and an arena, to host not just the basketball, but to host amazing acts, to take this venue to the next level, and to force people to stop in Oklahoma City on their way to Dallas on their tour or wherever they're going? You said you had to make some changes.
Exactly. I think we were given a very clear directive to increase the quantity, quality, and diversity of the touring content that came through the venue. So, we had some great folks that joined our team and really put a strong focus on that. And fortunately, we were able to do that. And I think 2019 at the time was our biggest year of touring ever, I believe. Okay. And 2020 was headed the same way. And so over the past 5 years, we're very thankful on the touring content that we've been able to get, some of the major tours in the world, as well as a good mix of different events. You mentioned earlier, from monster trucks to PBR to family shows, and all different types of genres of music. Yeah. We're very intentional about that, and we're very thankful for what we've been able to offer in the past few years.
Yeah. For you, that 2019 year, what were some of the huge acts and that came to town, and some personally for you that would just the inner 16-year-old in you was like, wow, I got to host these people?
Some of the major ones, like Justin Timberlake and Pink, right out of the gate that year were really, really big deals. And it was a strong, I'm trying to think back on the exact schedule, but I mean, it was Mumford and Sons, and some of my favorites, and Chris Stapleton, and like very different ones who had not been to the market either ever or for many years. Guns N' Roses, like it was a banner year for us that we were very, very thankful for. But we worked very hard at trying to increase that, and hopefully, the community noticed a difference.
Yeah. How are for someone in your position, you up the level of the facility, but what is, I guess, the criteria for, to attract those big acts and, to kind of force them to say, hey, we should really stop in Oklahoma City? And obviously they've got to have a fan base there, which most amazing touring artists have fan bases all over the country. But what is it to do with the facility that people maybe listening have no idea about, that convinces a Pink and a Justin Timberlake to make a stop off in Oklahoma City?
I think it's deploying a very proactive, aggressive booking strategy, and not waiting for the phone to ring. And I think it's heavily based on relationships, making very aggressive deals, and going and getting it. And I think that was one of the advantages for me, having started in smaller markets, which I felt was a very much disadvantage early on, to be in North and South Dakota, maybe not the entertainment must-play superhighway, but I had to learn how to hustle. I had to travel and go get the opportunities, because they weren't knocking down our door. But I think taking that mentality to a larger market and still deploying the same level of hustle and building your team with very talented people who share in that strategy, I think that was the initial difference. Once you get the show, you got to work harder to sell tickets. You can't have a half-empty room. You got to be successful there, and then on the show day, which I think we do exceptionally well, you have to treat them better than anywhere. You have to create a unique experience that they will remember at the end of the tour. Your date stands out, and they want to come back on the next tour.
Yeah. Let's dive in on that, because you guys have won awards on that backstage approach, right? And I came to the backstage experience last year, had a great time. I appreciate the girls for inviting me to that, because it was a lot of fun, and just to kind of have that kind of VIP experience, right? Driving down the back end of the arena and coming in the back door and the player entrance and all that stuff, and seeing that experience, and it was just like, this is I think Elton and Cher were there, right? Yeah, I kind of follow with both of them. It's great. But talk a little bit into that then. What makes it memorable, and what for you guys as a team? Because, these artists, they go to, like I said, 30 plus cities around on the tour, maybe more, and they're traveling all over the world, and every arena is trying to win them, right? It's trying to give them a memorable experience. We've got the BOK in Tulsa, right? Like, you've got competition on your doorstep. We drove to Tulsa to go to a concert. People do that all the time. So, you've got super close competition. What takes you guys to that next level, and how do you show that touring act, or, whatever it is that's coming to town? It doesn't have to be a musician, that this is the Paycom Center, this is Oklahoma City, this is what you should remember.
Yeah, we adapt an unreasonable hospitality approach. We try to be not only creative but intentional about personalizing our messaging, our gifting, our activations for each tour. Not only for the artists, but really, the folks that travel all year round, hardworking to put on the shows. We want them to have a great experience. So we really focus on the crew side and the touring personnel side. And I think that's been something that's paid off for us. And it's very gratifying when somebody's been on the road for months, he leaves and says, that's the best day we've had on the whole tour. And making them feel good naturally will make the artists feel great. So they have an amazing experience and great performance for the guests. But it's the rest of the tour that we really focus on and make them feel special and valued. Yeah. And I think they leave here with a different sense at the end of the night than other venues. And that doesn't mean we're going to get all the shows because of it, but at least they had a great experience here, because that is their impression of Oklahoma City. We're doing our job to make them feel like this is a great community by feeling appreciated backstage. But hopefully that'll tip the scale and getting us one extra show a year that we may not have had, because they know the level of experience and the standards that we deploy and appreciation in Paycom Center.
Yeah. To that point, how do you build out a staff also that has that quality, has that understanding from a backstage mentality as well. Not just on like the services side of like, you know, you've got a great team, but, you know, like I said, there's nothing worse than for a team that comes in and they're dealing with people who are unprofessional, they don't know what they're doing. It sounds like you guys have built a great team too. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think it starts with not taking the shows for granted. It's not just another event for us, that we truly are appreciative of them choosing to come to our venue. Second, it's like every department know that they are part of the booking team. If the catering's not great, if it's not clean, if it's too cold, like those things all impact the experience. So if those things are not great, the other gifting that we're doing is really marginalized. So it's really making everyone understand that you all are part of the booking team on a show day. And I think making them feel that and then sharing the positive feedback we get with all of them and making them know that they had an impact on that day. But it's a rewiring or creative wiring, so it's the natural feeling. And our super talented booking and marketing staff, they meet every week, focus specifically on the experience that shows will have when they come to the market. And I think that's very unique because that's incremental work. Like that's not part of their job. It's something extra we do here with the Oklahoma Standard. And we deploy that very intentionally and seriously backstage. And I think it really pays off.
Yeah, and that you're right. Especially with that, you know, that Oklahoma Standard, just going that, you know, just that little bit extra makes a huge difference to, you know, make someone feel right at home, and it doesn't have to be much, right? Like you said, it just has to be a conversation that you're like, oh my gosh, these people actually really care because they did a little bit of research, you know. Like I heard a quote today. It was like 20 minutes of research adds 20 points of IQ, right? Like it doesn't take that much to research something that makes a difference, especially when you have that little interaction. You may only get 30 seconds with a crew member, and you're just like, hey, like I heard you from this town, or what, you know, whatever it is. It definitely goes a long way. So 2019 was just record year. You're filling the books. You're heading into 2020 thinking we're, you know, off to the races, having a great time. And then March happens and you are about to tip off. Thunder's about to tip off. And you get the call that one of the opposing players has tested positive for COVID, and you got an arena full of people. Brian Burns has been on the podcast since then and spoke about how professional everything was dealt with and talked a little bit about it from the Thunder side. How was that for you as the GM of this, you know, Paycom Center during that time?
Yeah, 2020 would have been a banner year for us, and you know what could possibly go wrong. And we were rocking, and until 6:40 p.m. on March 11th, and Brian Burns, Senior Vice President of the Thunder, who's my partner and a big reason why we are so successful on the arena side. He called me and said, hey, the governor needs to take a phone call. Can you let him into your office and come right now? And I literally ran down the concourse in my suit and I met the governor, got him into the conference room, and I said, here you go, take your phone call. He said, you can stay for this. And he put it on speakerphone, and that's when we found out that there was a positive test from the opposing team. And the Thunder executives quickly assembled, brought in Mr. Clay Bennett to the conference room. He contacted Commissioner Adam Silver, and the commissioner said, okay, don't play the game, and we'll make an NBA statement very shortly. We quickly descended downstairs by the locker room. They removed the players from the court, and we made a plan. And the hard part going through it was, as we sat in that room just before tip-off, and there's 18,000 people out there so excited, my heart just sank because I knew what that phone call meant. We've been on industry calls for days and weeks talking about if this becomes a thing, here are the dominoes. And I knew what was going to happen. I never knew it was a 2-year problem, but I knew that this was a significant thing, and it was going to start in Oklahoma City that night. So we went downstairs, we safely egressed the building, but then the work began because there was still so much we didn't know. And you had staff calling saying, am I safe to go home to my kids? Am I going to die? I high-fived a player, and we weren't exactly sure which player or who was in the building, and there was so many unknowns. And we learned a lot quickly that night as well. But we also had shares scheduled the next day in the arena. So that tour was in town. So we were juggling their camp, calling us saying, what's going on? Is it safe? Can we come in? Can we not? Should the show be canceled? And so there were so many things going on. And you have hundreds of texts from across the country that people are watching this live, wondering what's going on, is everything okay? And to your comment of what Brian had said on your show, it was a great example that night of the organizations working together, because they are separate, with the Thunder being the tenant and ASM Global being the operator, and how well they work together to safely get people out, to effectively communicate, and then really deploy kind of a crisis management strategy from that point on. And we thought it was going to be a 30-day issue. Let's start rescheduling games and concerts and emailing staff. And never in my wildest imagination, we had Pearl Jam scheduled a couple weeks after that. When Pearl Jam finally played the date, I think it was 970 days later. Uh-huh. So it was a shocking impact. And the next 2 years was horrible. It was, we were the first ones to shut down and the last ones to open. And, but yet I felt like I was never busier, because we were always preparing to come back. How do you make sure you do it safely and take care of your staff and the guests? And it just never quite started. However, coming out of it, I think we're much stronger because of it. And I personally am much more appreciative of all of our guests, all of our staff, and all these events we have now. When I have those lights out before the artist takes the stage moments, I'm extra gratified because we get to do this again.
Yeah, I mean, and also from a personal perspective for you too, like as someone who's the GM who's in charge, any other thing that comes up now, nothing's going to compare to that. Like, you can get through that for 2 years, you can get through pretty much everything, right? Like, you go through the worst of it. You're on national television in front of the entire world, that like everyone's watching the NBA and the eyes are on Oklahoma City and the eyes are on the arena, and how do you respond, right? And I can't imagine what it's like to have that text or a call from an employee that says, hey, I high-five to play, because no one knew at that point, right? No one knew if like they might go home and drop dead. Like, everyone's kind of probably Googling COVID, which is the worst thing to do if you Google any, virus or whatever it is, or an illness, anything. Like, the answer Google's going to give you is probably going to tell you you're going to die within 36 hours, right? Don't Google it. But yeah, I mean, to go through that, to have that team, to have that realization and have that faith and the ability to handle it the way that you guys did, like, you guys can tackle anything now. And I'm sure you feel that way too.
Well, that's where valued, partners and teammates mean the most, because you truly are in the foxhole together and you're in a crisis situation, and it makes you extra appreciative of an organization like the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are made up not only of highly skilled people, but great human beings too. And they did a great job with very high integrity, and it was great to see them in action. And I sure learned a lot that night, because there wasn't a chapter in our How to Run an Arena book about dealing with the start of a pandemic at your arena. As there's always things you would armchair quarterback and do differently, but we're very lucky and blessed with the safe outcome we had. But it sure changed the next few years.
Yeah, talk about coming back then. How was that process of, like I said, you basically prepared to come back for 2 years because you never know when you're going to get that phone call. But what was that like to, what was that first, I guess, full show back that was like, oh, this was back to normal now?
Yep, we had one show that we had to do kind of a distance seating for. Mm-hmm. I think it was in the summer of 21, I believe. And unique, but it was exciting to have people back in the building. I think we did PBR like that, a couple country shows, and so it was great to be back doing what we were doing, even though it looked differently, even though it was masks and plexiglass and many different other procedure changes. But we wanted to. I think people were clamoring for the entertainment experience again. The NBA we didn't have fans. That year, I think we were one of the only ones that did that. So it was very different. Like, we'll look back on history at a time and scratch our heads, because it was just unimaginable. but it still went on to some degree. So once it came back full force, it's been almost a renaissance in 22 and 23, and 24 looks strong as well, that people prioritize those moments and memories very, very strongly, and we get to be a part of help creating those.
Yeah, no, it's special, right? And you can definitely tell that people have missed live sports, music, entertainment. What do you think then? Well, let's talk about the future a little bit. Obviously, we've had the vote, it's gone through. What does that mean kind of in your role and from your side going forward?
So my first reaction to the vote in December, obviously deep appreciation for the community, but the best part about that overwhelming supportive vote is not that we're getting a new fancy arena. To me, what makes me the happiest is that here's a community that once again, when given the opportunity to invest in itself and making a bold quality of life decision that they're not going to see the dividends on for many years, that's the type of city I want to live in. That's the type of city that I want to raise my kids in. So to me, to see the decision that was made at such a resounding level said so much more than we want to build a nice new arena. It's great that the NBA team's going to be here through 2050, but it's even more important that this city did what other markets probably wouldn't have done, and that starts really with the vision and strong leadership at the top with Mayor David Holt. I think having a mayor that can see that this is the time for this, we need this, and here's the benefits from it, and we're going to do this today, and having him, charge up the mountain with that flag, I think leadership can be very passive and be supportive too, but he wasn't. Yeah. He doubled down, and I think you'll see the benefits of that, years and decades down the road. But it really starts with him, and all of that is why I feel so bullish on this community.
Yeah. What's to play for your role going forward then with this kind of new arena center, what Paycom Center is going to be called. How does that look for obviously you've opened up plenty of locations in the past and gone through a couple of, obviously Paycom's rebranded or from Chesapeake to Paycom as well, and you've been through that. What are your kind of, I guess, non-negotiables then for developing this new facility so that this withstands the test of time and you don't have to raise money in the next 10 years to be like, oh, we should have done it this way? Like, what, you got a huge chance to build something epic now, and clearly have the backing of the community. And also there's a new soccer stadium coming as well, right? That this was just announced too. So it's not just you guys in town, there's gonna be a lot of other cool venues too. As the GM, what is your input? What are the non-negotiables that you're really excited about going forward and building for this new building?
I'm fortunate to be able to travel and see other venues, and each time I do that, you recognize kind of the best of the best, and to hopefully take those elements to come back to create something that's generational here. I think that's the part I'm looking most forward to, and I'm hopeful to be part of it through the design and the construction and hopefully operation of it. But the work starts today. Like we have a little chart at work, and we have the number of weeks left till opening. And if you back it all out, the work begins right now to be ready to open in several years down the road. So it's a fantastic time to dream and think about what the guest experience of the next generation looks like, and how do we do things differently here, so Oklahoma City can be a true destination for sports and entertainment even more than it is today. And I think once we do that and do that correctly, I think people are going to see how special it is and the benefit of all the extra events that come with it and guests from around the country, and hopefully create a one-of-a-kind experience for all those folks.
Yeah. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what it looks like. I can't wait to see the architecture, and it's going to be a statement from the outside, and it has to fit into downtown, and it's not just an arena, right? There's a lot. It's going to be. Do we have kind of like a draft or number of just like, hey, it's going to be this many seats, and this is what we want to do? Is that even an option yet, or is that because the current one now, it's not one of the biggest ones in the NBA, right? As far as the Thunder Arena, the seated stadium. What is it compared to like all the others? It's not.
Capacity-wise, Paycom Center is is up there
Okay.
with some of the larger venues. Of square footage of the building, it's the smallest.
Got you. Okay.
And so no decisions have been made, lots of discussion, but I think that's why you bring on a high-level architect and general contractors that can help you design the next generation building with all the new trends and technologies that they're deploying today and create something really special here.
Yeah, you mentioned you get to travel, you get to see the best venues around the world, also around the country and maybe around the world. What are some of the best places you've been to and things that you'd love to incorporate in the new arena if you get the opportunity to?
There's great arenas in the United States, whether Phoenix and Atlanta and Los Angeles and Milwaukee and many, many others. But to me, building a new arena, the opportunity is to think beyond that. What are great elements in, special hotels or museums or ballparks, and how do you incorporate those into a next generation venue? So it's thinking well beyond other professional sports arenas. I think it's a big opportunity to look at the best of the best what's out there and build an appropriate but a generational facility.
Yeah. Have you been to that? Is it Sphere in Vegas yet?
I haven't.
No. I saw some of the guys from the Thunder team went out there to see it. I think Will and Brian went out. Maybe that was just a personal trip. It looked like they had a blast. Haven't been out there yet, but it does look incredible. And obviously they've spent an outrageous amount of money on it, which that's just a very Vegas thing to do. Anyway, it'd be cool to have a giant screen at some point, I'm sure, on the building. Finishing up, let's talk about something like just some personal things for you. Who surprised you this year that was that you got kind of hosted at the Paycom Center? Is there any acts or things that you hosted that you got to see that you were like, wow, I did not expect these guys to blow me away, but it's pretty good.
One new artist who sold out his very first NBA arena is an artist named Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
And was incredible, an amazing talent. I couldn't say enough about the backstage experience that he had and his team had. That was fun. It's great to have the return of just staples like Kenny Chesney and Blake Shelton's, and they always are very successful here, but they enjoy their experience and they have great things to say about the market, and we're very excited what's to come. We have multiple Drake shows coming up and multiple Zach Bryan and multiple Turnpike Troubadours, and 24 is going to be a great year for us, and we have more exciting announcements to come. But we're so thankful and so excited because I think our job is to, number one, make the community proud of their event center, and number two, bring these events into the region, some of which who may not have been planning to come here, and create the best guest experience possible. It's much bigger than competing against Tulsa. When they come, they're looking at the region, multi-states at a time, and they can play maybe 4 days in this part of the world. Well, how do you fight against all those other cities to get your opportunity? And so we try to do our best to position Oklahoma City to be considered, and once we get them here, we want them to come back. But to come back, I think it's important that the community understands we have to support live music at venues of all sizes. It's not just about the arena level. We need the Tower Theater and the Jones Assembly and others to be successful, because when they're successful, as artists keep moving up in their capacity rooms, that's what builds toward arena level acts. And if one of those levels in the food chain is not supported, that can kind of break that progression and growth in the market. So I strongly encourage people to continue to get in your car and drive to other cities, but make sure that you take care of Oklahoma City first and make these venues successful so they can keep bringing back the great entertainment that we so much enjoy.
Yeah. To that point, I think, I watched Gary Clark Jr. at the Jones last year. I've seen multiple shows at the Criterion and a lot of comedy shows at the Criterion, actually. They've kind of found their kind of niche in comedy, which I think is great. I think our general music scene is growing, and the guys at the Tower, they get it, right? They, Chad and Steve at the Tower. I think it's Steve. Steve and Tyler. That's why I remember his name. They do a great job too, and I think it's just the love of Oklahoma City does love music, right, at any level, and it's great to have that. And for us, it's obviously selfishly great to not have to drive to Tulsa or to Dallas to see someone that that we really want to see. Finishing up, last question: if there's anybody that you would like to have play at Paycom Center, and you get one go, you get to have this one artist, band, whoever it is, who would you like to have?
realizing they've already played.
Okay.
But a close one to my heart is Foo Fighters. I would love to see them at some point in the next few years, realizing their arena days are becoming much more selective, to have them back, because I think they're an authentic American rock band of good guys that put on a great show, and they're one of my favorites, and always one I try to go out of the way to see when I can, but that's a selfish one.
Yeah.
But my favorite artist of all time that I've seen, who's no longer around anymore, is Prince. And like, if I could have picked one from all the ages to say, who would you want to have, that would be one that I would, to bring Prince in, it would be that'd be a dream come true for sure.
Okay, awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for an hour of your time. Thank you for sharing some great stories. Thank you for taking care of this wonderful community center that we have in the middle of downtown Oklahoma City, and doing the job that you do. And obviously, you know, by spending an hour with you, I know that it's not just you, and you would say this, it's the team, but you know, you are the one who stands in front of that team and most people talk to. So thank you to yourself, thank you to the team and everything that you guys do. I wish you a great year in 2024, and to continue winning awards for your backstage work that you do, because no one really sees that other than the artist, right? And you know, you're the touch point for Oklahoma City when people come to town. And I really appreciate it, because I like to see better acts, and I would love to see Foo Fighters come to town. I don't have to travel to see them either. They were fantastic live last time I saw them, and Dave Grohl knows how to throw it down. So yeah, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. It's been an absolute blast. And for people listening, we'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy, because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901. They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. So yeah, go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.